Every year, over 5 million tons of lamb cross continents, tucked into refrigerated crates or walking aboard ships. But behind each tender cut lies a race against time and temperature, where tradition meets precision. From highland farms to distant ports, each step is a delicate balance of welfare, culture, and science. By the end of this video, you'll uncover how lamb reaches your plate, unspoiled, certified, and globally connected. In the rolling green of New Zealand's Canterbury Plains, a lamb grazes beneath the watchful eye of its mother. It seems simple, almost pastoral, but this scene is part of one of the most complex logistics networks in modern agriculture. From the moment a lamb is born, its entire life cycle is shaped not just by grass and rain, but by export forecasts, dietary specifications, and biosecurity requirements. At just a few months old, it's tagged with a microchip, less visible than a freckle, which tracks everything from vaccinations to weight gain. This tiny marker will link it to spreadsheets, satellite feeds, and foreign import inspections, connecting farm paddocks to global markets. When the lamb reaches its target weight, it's time for movement. The trucks that arrive are not what most imagine. These are ventilated, multi-tiered systems designed for airflow and comfort, ensuring the animals remain calm. Stress hormones affect meat quality, so exporters invest in silence, soft flooring, dim lighting, even gentle handling techniques that make the process feel less like transit and more like choreography. For live exports, particularly to the Middle East where religious observances demand specific slaughter practices, care goes further. The animals must be not only healthy, but deemed fit by trained inspectors, who check for disease, dehydration, and even minor injuries. Processing plants are no less meticulous. In countries like Australia and New Zealand, lamb is typically slaughtered locally, flash-chilled or frozen, and then loaded into reefer containers, sealed boxes of steel that hum with cold precision. Inside, lamb is portioned, vacuum-packed, and arranged with the care of museum curators. The temperature must hold steady within 1 or 2 degrees. A rise of just 4 could start bacterial growth, potentially ruining tons of meat. Some plants chill carcasses with carbon dioxide tunnels, while others use air blast systems that firm up muscle fibers for cleaner cuts. Each package is labeled with origin data, slaughter date, and, often, religious certification. For Muslim-majority countries, halal certification is not just a stamp. It's a requirement enforced by specialized bodies that verify every stage, from feed sources to prayers, recited during slaughter. And for premium markets, such as those in Japan or Scandinavia, even the feed regimen, grass-fed versus grain-finished, can shift a lamb's commercial destiny. Once sealed, the meat is rushed to port. The timing is critical. Chilled lamb has a much shorter shelf life than frozen cuts, so delays are costly. At the docks, rows of refrigerated containers stand ready, each connected to power lines that keep temperatures cold even before loading begins. Dock workers, accustomed to this delicate cargo, monitor everything, checking seals, inspecting refrigeration units, verifying shipment manifests. One mistake, one missed temperature spike, and thousands of kilograms could be rejected at customs thousands of miles away. Live export operates on a parallel track. Special livestock vessels, often called floating feedlots, dock at ports like Fremantle or Napier. Their design mirrors modern animal welfare concerns. Climate-controlled decks, auto-feeders, and onboard veterinarians are standard. Each animal is logged into a manifest that's digitally synced with import authorities. Before boarding, sheep are rested, watered, and examined, and then they walk, not shoved, not crammed, but guided onto the ship's ramps, their hooves clicking against the steel floor, unaware of the thousands of miles ahead. Every aspect, from crate size to crate angle, is regulated. International guidelines dictate space per animal, humidity levels, airflow rates. These aren't just bureaucratic hurdles, they're survival mechanisms. The better the animals are treated, the lower the mortality rate and the better the meat when they arrive. One livestock vessel might carry 70,000 sheep, yet each has to be monitored as though it were a solo passenger. As lamb heads out across oceans or borders, it does so under silent surveillance, scanned, recorded, logged into cloud-based systems that track temperature, humidity, even vibration. But none of this guarantees smooth delivery. The cold chain must be unbroken, from meat locker to customs officer, across highways, harbors, and holding facilities. There's no pause button. If a refrigerated truck breaks down on a highway in Dubai, or a power failure hits a port in Jakarta, the countdown to spoilage begins instantly. And yet, despite these high stakes, millions of tons make it through, untouched by rot or ruin. Each cut carries not only flavor but data, a taste of its home soil, sealed in barcode and bloodline. But this success doesn't come easily. For every lamb perfectly packed and delivered, there's a gauntlet of obstacles threatening to derail the process. From storms to trade bans, from rising fuel prices to sudden disease outbreaks, the challenges that follow are just as intense as the precision we've seen so far. A container ship drifts off the coast of Djibouti, stalled by high winds. Inside its refrigerated belly, pallets of lamb rest under vigilant cooling systems, every minute ticking closer to risk. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, a livestock vessel circles outside port clearance, waiting on import documentation delayed by a clerical error. These aren't rare incidents. They're routine hazards in a global system that hinges on timing, compliance, and resilience. Exporting lamb isn't merely a matter of transport, it's a daily negotiation with unpredictability. The terrain alone presents obstacles. In parts of the Middle East, trucks hauling lamb carcasses must cross blistering deserts where asphalt melts and tires warp under midday sun. In Central Asia, mountain passes ice over in spring storms, turning delivery schedules into educated guesses. Remote islands like Réunion rely on air freight for freshness, yet a grounded flight can mean entire shipments lost before they even leave the tarmac. The world lamb travels through is anything but flat. Then there's disease, foot and mouth, blue tongue. A single case can shut borders within hours, stranding animals and halting millions in trade. In Australia, strict biosecurity laws mean export yards double as containment zones. Every animal is inspected, every truck disinfected. If an outbreak is suspected, shipments halt indefinitely. In Europe, trace contamination in one facility can trigger recalls across an entire continent. The fear isn't just illness, it's the reputational damage that follows. Even when animals are healthy, the journey can be compromised by politics. Trade tensions between nations can lead to sudden bans. In 2020, Qatar turned back several vessels due to overcapacity at ports. In other years, Saudi Arabia has temporarily halted imports over regulatory disagreements, leaving ships stranded at sea, their crew juggling feed and welfare in limbo. Religious festivals like Eid create surges in demand, but they also compress timelines. Miss the narrow delivery window, and your product is irrelevant, freshness eclipsed by calendar constraints. Weather complicates everything. A 2-week sea crossing can turn perilous with the onset of monsoon winds. Even modern vessels can only do so much against typhoons or rogue waves. And inside, livestock must be kept stable. Ventilation systems must compensate for external heat. Feeding systems must continue functioning even in rough swells. Failures here aren't just costly, they're fatal. On land, economic volatility threatens planning. Diesel prices spike, and suddenly, refrigerated truck routes become unprofitable. Currency fluctuations can turn profitable deals into losses overnight. Exporters hedge bets, diversify markets, and sometimes gamble, sending lamb to emerging regions with uncertain payment systems. And then there are customer expectations. European retailers demand sustainability credentials. Middle Eastern markets prioritize religious traceability. Asian importers want tighter portion control. Fulfilling all of them requires not just logistics, but linguistic and cultural fluency. Consumer scrutiny is higher than ever. In Germany, activists pressure supermarkets to boycott meat linked to live exports. In the UK, documentaries expose poor handling on ships. In Australia, drone footage from feedlots prompts parliamentary debates. The lamb industry operates under a microscope, where every misstep can provoke a media storm or consumer backlash. Still, amid all this friction, lamb moves. Not always smoothly, but with a determination born from centuries of trade. A leg of lamb sold in Dubai might have faced delays, inspections, storms, and rerouting, yet it arrives. Its surface still chilled, its color vibrant, its journey invisible to the shopper scanning a QR code for origin data. That invisibility is the point. The system works best when the struggle is hidden, but the complexity demands evolution. What once relied on weather forecasts and paperwork now leans on predictive software and blockchain, because to keep pace with growing demand and shrinking margins, the industry must get smarter. And that's exactly where the next transformation begins. A refrigerated container quietly alerts a technician after sensing a slight temperature rise. Within minutes, it's stabilized, the lamb inside still perfectly chilled. Across the globe, a consumer scans a QR code on a supermarket label and sees the farm where the lamb was raised, the feed it consumed, and the exact day it was processed. These moments, seemingly minor, represent a seismic shift in how lamb moves across the world, with precision, with proof, and increasingly with technology as its backbone. The once static ear tag has evolved into a dynamic information hub. As soon as a lamb is tagged, that data feeds into cloud-based platforms tracking growth, health, feed composition, and medication schedules. At scale, this data builds export models predicting how entire flocks will perform under specific climatic conditions or feed regimens. This isn't just for show. It drives compliance, market access, and even insurance eligibility. Transport along the weakest link is now one of the smartest. Inside containers, sensors track far more than temperature. They monitor humidity, carbon dioxide levels, vibrations, and even light breaches. If a container door is opened unexpectedly in transit, the system flags it in real time. On livestock vessels, artificial intelligence monitors animal behavior. Subtle shifts in movement patterns can indicate early illness or discomfort, prompting onboard veterinarians to act before the issue escalates. Blockchain has brought a new layer of trust. In export-heavy regions like Oceania, each lamb's data, from farm to freezer, is uploaded to a decentralized ledger. This allows customs officials, retailers, and end consumers to verify origin and authenticity without relying on paperwork. In regions where halal certification is essential, every phase of production, from feed source to method of slaughter, is recorded and cross-verified with certifying bodies. What once required faith in labels now has digital transparency. Packaging has adapted too. High-end cuts are sealed in vacuum-tight films that prevent oxygen ingress, sometimes flushed with inert gases to delay spoilage. Labels now include sensors that change color if the product ever leaves its safe temperature range. In high-volume markets, these indicators eliminate guesswork, ensuring only viable meat makes it to shelves. Some countries have even introduced tamper-proof packaging designed to shatter if mishandled. Sustainability has become more than an ethical side note. Some exporters have replaced diesel-powered coolers with solar units during inland transport. Facilities increasingly rely on renewable energy, not for marketing, but to meet carbon accountability standards imposed by international buyers. As climate concerns deepen, exporters are re-evaluating everything, from fuel sources to packaging waste, to maintain access to premium markets. Freezing methods have also improved dramatically. Where once freezing was a compromise, it's now an art. Meat is deep frozen rapidly, in ways that preserve cellular structure, allowing for texture and flavor retention even after weeks at sea. This innovation enables producers to ship lamb halfway across the world without resorting to air freight, reducing carbon footprints without sacrificing quality. Surprisingly, some New Zealand lamb sold in the UK is more climate-friendly than domestically raised lamb, thanks to grass-fed systems and hyper-efficient maritime shipping. Behind these advances lies another form of intelligence: logistical foresight. Algorithms now map not just optimal routes, but also anticipate border delays, port congestion, and seasonal demand spikes. Exporters use predictive models to time shipments for religious festivals or avoid storm-prone regions. A lamb processed today is routed not only by geography, but by probability. All of this forms an invisible scaffold that supports the visible product. A fresh lamb, loin, on a stainless steel tray. A frozen shoulder packed in a supermarket chest. A halal-certified carcass prepared for a family celebration. Every sensor ping, every blockchain entry, every algorithmic reroute exists to ensure one thing: delivery without compromise. In a trade shaped by tradition, innovation has become the guarantor of trust. From remote farms to distant plates, lamb connects cultures through precision and care. Behind each cut lies a web of welfare standards, smart logistics, and quiet trust. Next time you taste it, remember the invisible system that delivered it. Click the next video to keep exploring.